Okay, today we're going to take a look at a gentleman called Matthew Benham. He's basically the founder of Smart Odds, which is basically a sports betting analyst platform, statistical model platform, and also Brentford FC and FC Midtjylland, which is basically a Swedish football club. Interesting to see that he's basically taking his expertise from a few million to hundreds of millions of dollars, billions in net worth. So let's take a look insight into how he got to this, his expertise, what he does, and what we can learn from it.
Benham, a private, secretive and highly analytical gambling mastermind that's turned a $700,000 loan into a $300 million profit with the help of his childhood passion, Brentford Football Club. He's also the founder of Smart Odds and the owner of Matchbook Betting Exchange. But how did he do it, and can it be repeated? After all, success usually leaves clues. Matthew Benham was born in 1968, attending his first football match 11 years later in 1979. This was the start of his love affair with Brentford Football Club, a full 27 years before most people had even heard of it. He attended Oxford University from 1986 to 1989, gaining a Bachelor of Arts degree in physics before starting a career in finance. 12 years later, he had already rocketed up the ranks, becoming the Vice President at the Bank of America. For Benham though, this achievement wasn't nearly enough. He left finance in 2001, switching careers to work for the infamous Tony Bloom at the newly founded Premier Bet. Presumably, he'd seen a bit.
So what's quite interesting here is that he had a passion, right? His passion, he enjoyed playing sports, football. Brentford was his boyhood football club, which Brentford is basically a soccer club in West London in the UK. So basically had a passion there. Then he went into working for Tony Bloom. Tony Bloom is basically the founder of Brighton and the founder of many football clubs such as Hearts, which is a Scottish football club, and other clubs all over the world. And he basically has a quantitative statistical modeling, sports gambling platform that really uses models for predicting what's going to happen. And he's made a massive success. He's essentially a billionaire. So what's interesting that Matthew Benham identified someone that's doing extremely well and basically formed and worked basically with this individual to be able to build up Tony Bloom, who basically has a 75% ownership of Brighton. Estimated net worth is about $1.3 billion.
Big opportunity, as had Bloom within Benham. His job was to create and develop predictive gambling models with the use of analytical data and quantitative analysis. After a couple of years, he left in 2003. Rumour has it there was a falling out between the two, although neither have ever spoken about it since. But this wasn't the end of the line for Benham. He'd already cut his teeth in gambling and wasn't going to go back to banking, so he started Smart Odds in 2004. It's now a rival to Bloom's Star Lizard, booking an impressive £12 million revenue per year.
What's also interesting is that he has, obviously after studying, he went into the banking, so he understood about, from the corporate side, from banking, understand about models. And then he really cut his teeth about this whole gambling aspect, understanding predictive modeling, performance analysis, data, right? But clearly his more talents, his passion wasn't really in the banking aspect, but it gave him a sound foundation to be able to then expand to the data analytical aspect, and then really venture with Tony Bloom. That gave him that platform for him then to move on with his business, and an impressive £12 million revenue per year that he generated utilizing this interesting moat.
Style of statistical analysis that enabled him to create Smart Odds has assisted him in providing masses of betting liquidity on various exchanges and becoming the owner of Matchbook in 2011.
So the one interesting thing here is that with Smart Odds is providing liquidity. So it wasn't like he was utilizing a model initially to take bets, right? Because generally with gambling, it's more or less a zero-sum game whereby 99% of people or bettors lose. It's quite clear. Those stats have been around forever. So clearly he knew that wasn't a unique selling proposition. So essentially he wanted to become a liquidity provider, understanding about the modeling, and that's essentially how he'd be able to build and generate quite a lot of money from that acumen.
Some believe the Matchbook move was tactical, allowing him to get larger bets matched. His official net worth and just how much he's made from betting is unknown, although something he did back in 2007 gives us a clue. Even back then, Brentford Football Club fell on hard times in late 2006, so he put forward a $700,000 loan to help them through it. It came with a caveat though: if the loan wasn't repaid in full, Matthew Benham would be able to purchase the club. In 2012, he was given that opportunity and he became the owner. But his biggest stunt was only just beginning. What he did next earned him a lifelong nickname, with comparisons being drawn to Brad Pitt's film Moneyball. Benham has said that he dislikes the comparison, although if you've seen the film, you can see why. If you haven't seen the film, I'd recommend it, it's a great watch. Matthew Moneyball Benham purchased FC Mitiad to test his analytical modelling methods in July 2014. Successful ideas were reused on Brentford, and the
So it's interesting where he didn't really say stop at just the gambling side. He said, okay, how can I be able to utilize something that I'm passionate about, i.e. sports, football, use these statistical models that he's carved out, that he's created an avenue for him, and then literally didn't do a partnership, right? He actually acquired a football club, right? So this goes back to ownership. This goes back to when you build something, as I mentioned in the previous video that I said, 66% of millionaires, multi-millionaires, their net worth has accrued through their own business, right? So this is a testament to exactly what Benham has done. He had an idea, he showed that the idea can actually generate money, but then the next step was not just to partner with a club, was actually to buy out a club and utilize the models to see how well that club can do in terms of performance on the pitch. And then also from buying players at a lower price, and then a sell-on value, and then you could be able to increase and basically the valuation of the football club.
Failures were binned and forgotten. Simply put, he developed his own set of indicators based on analytical data that had been proven to work, ignoring the traditional decision-making methods that were reliant on human opinion. This was most evident when he sacked Mark Warburton and his assistant manager in 2015, after the Brentford Bees had been promoted to the Championship. They were replaced with analytical minds that focused on data. Individual wins and losses were considered less important, and definable metrics like XG and average goal times were favoured. A quote from Rasmus Ankerson in the Guardian newspaper gives us a unique insight into how Benham operates. When he asked Benham if they were likely to get promoted from League One, Benham replied, "There's a 42.3% chance that we'll go up." Key indicators that interest Benham.
So what's quite interesting previously is that the traditional way is if you're looking to find good players, you'll have scouts, right? Scouts will go, they'll write a report, they'll say this is the performance of that player, this is what they did well, this is what they didn't do so well, this is areas of improvement, this is competitive analysis. But utilizing those models, he basically integrated the data, right? With quantitative analysis, with qualitative scouting to ensure like a holistic view of players that you can be able to utilize purely based on data. And this is exactly a massive testament. And I think using the old model with a new model, integrating it as a hybrid, showed that there's a way which outperformed where we see today, right?
The most are accurately definable and have a strong correlation with historical success as a team, rather than individual talent or subjective opinion. The most controversial move came in 2016 when Brentford eliminated their youth academy system, relying solely on reserve players that were considered useless by other clubs. Benham's model needed a player to complete 35 games before an accurate data value could be assigned. This is because smaller samples provide less accurate results. Being a smaller club, they had the flexibility and freedom to experiment. Something that
as they always say, especially with modeling, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you have a small data set, that's only going to give you results purely based on that numbers, right? So the more of the data set in terms of the quantitative information, then you add the qualitative, then you can say, okay, Raul, we have a better result, or the outcome is more reliable compared to when you have a smaller data set. So hence the reason why they mentioned
clubs
having 35 games to then utilize that as a minimum to see what the performances are. So this is a phenomenal way to be able to do it.
Would not have allowed. It was an advantage as the flexibility meant that they could find and test undervalued players without overexpending. So for example, Ollie Wilkins was bought for $2.3 million and sold for $36 million, whereas Neil Maupay was bought for $2.1 million and sold for $26 million. That's one hell of a markup. And of course, The results weren't instant, but like all good gamblers, data scientists and financiers, Benham knew it was about the long-term game, allowing probability to do the heavy lifting in the process. If you stack the odds in your favour, you will eventually win. And he did when Brentford won the Championship final, completing their rise from Division 4 to the Premier League. It's made him and the club a whole lot richer too. Brentford Football Club is currently worth $300 million. And if they can stay up for 2 years, $400 million. The longer they stay up, the more their value grows. And if past experience is anything to go by, the more likely they are to win. Which poses the question, how far will Brentford Bees go? Let me know what you think in the comments down below.
So this is interesting. So credit to him, to Carnberry. So it just shows someone that basically took out a loan of 700,000 has Brentford now valuation. I think it's even more than 300 million. They're currently 2026. They're currently 5th in the table. So such a phenomenal growth of a team that many years ago they were literally in the lower leagues. They're now literally one spot away from Champions League. Phenomenal. Utilizing modeling, right? So statistical modeling, utilizing data, and obviously having a phenomenal performance on the field, off the field, how you've actually built successes like that. And even if had managers that's come and gone, it still shows that, okay, yes, the managers have done well, but then there's something underlying behind that. And that's where the modeling comes into it. So phenomenal opportunities. And this just shows you that if you have a moat, if you have an idea, if you build something innovation, or you build your own company, or if you have capital, pull it towards back yourself, right? He took a huge risk taking out a loan. He could have gone bankrupt, right? But he had conviction. He understood that long term that it could generate some phenomenal returns. It could really turn his life around, and he did that. And this is where he is today. So if you like this type of information, you like more of it, please like, subscribe, and add comments. And also we'll be adding a spreadsheet also in description about investing, about budgeting, savings, so on and so forth. And also if you want to support us, we'll also add Patreon in the description. Thank you.